when money is easy to make, society begins to break, right?
Right.
The difference of hard money versus soft money. So we even touch on gold in that episode, and it's not necessarily a Bitcoin hard sell or anything like that, but it really does help people understand the fundamentals, that critical sort of basis for hard money. And so we wanted kids to be able to understand it. Luckily, it seems to be working, that a lot of kids are really understanding it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the BlockHash Podcast. Before we dive into the episode with Tuttle Twins, I want to share a message from my sponsor, Pika. Pika is revolutionizing the intersection of NFTs and gaming through their Pika trading card game, Elders of Kai. The TCG will be both digital, physical, and Web3 integrated, allowing gamers to play and compete in various formats. Whether you are a newbie or a pro gamer, there's a spot for you in Pika. Learn more about Pika and Elders of Kai on their website and social media pages. Join the Pika community on Telegram to keep up with the latest developments. Enjoy the episode, guys. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the BlockHash Podcast, episode 337. Today, I have Daniel Harmon on the show, the executive producer, creator of Tuttle Twins, which is a fantastic new show for kids. I came across it when I saw a Bitcoin episode in particular, and have had a chance to look at some other episodes and really love the message that they're trying to send to kids on many different topics. So Daniel's here to explain what they're doing with the show. Daniel, welcome, man. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me on, Brandon.
Of course. Before we dive into the show a bit more, can you tell us a bit more about your background as well, and kind of how you got to where you are with creating Tuttle Twins? Like, did you have any history with this prior, or is this something new for you?
Yes and no. So a little new, have some history as well. My background was in advertising. I'm a co-founder of the ad agency Harmon Brothers. We're known for big viral marketing campaigns like Squatty Potty, Poopery, Purple Mattress, Lumi Deodorant, Chatbooks, Kodiak Cakes, all those different kinds of big brands. And we really kind of made our name on the internet for being able to tell really good stories in video form on platforms like Facebook and YouTube, and be able to do it in a way that it was turning a positive return on investment for our clients and really driving their top line revenue. And so I developed my storytelling chops primarily through advertising. And then along the way, I met Connor Boyack, who is the author of the Tuttle Twins book series. I bought the very first book that he put out called The Law. And this was before he had any intention of making it into a book series. And it teaches, it breaks down Frederick Bastiat's The Law on the concepts of rights to life, liberty, and property in terms of freedom and economics in a way that a child can understand, and parents as well. And so I got the first book when it came out, read it with my kids, immediately loved it at the clarity he'd been able to achieve. And then when he had the success with that first book, he ended up kind of turning it into a series and doing it on things like the Golden Rule, entrepreneurship, inflation, all these other subjects. And we subsequently bought all the rest of those books. And he was getting into the tens of thousands of sales in his books, he started considering the idea of turning his book series into a cartoon, into a TV series. And my team and I at Harmon Brothers saw what he was looking to do and said, no, we want to turn that into a series for you. So after being in advertising, and having so many successes with the different campaigns, I've been having an itching to tell stories of my own. And then one of the executive producers on the project, Benton Crane, he was like, I think we should do Tuttle Twins. I think that's what our project should be on our first story. And I was like, a political show? Really? Is that what we want to do? And I was a little bit hesitant to do it, but then I thought about it. I was like, oh, what we've done with advertising for so many years so well is tell these stories for brands that are relatively unknown and do it with a high amount of education and entertainment. And really, that's what this book series, I feel like that's what it needs
Mhm.
when it comes to translating it into a TV show for kids, is being able to explain things in a really educational way and do it really clearly for kids, but then kind of had this vision for really adding a lot of adventure and comedy and fun to it. And so that's what we approached Connor about, is a partnership, kind of spelled out how for him how Tuttle Twins could be kind of a larger brand, like a Marvel brand,
Mhm.
right? Marvel has its comic books, it has its TV series, its cinematic universe, its toys, its games, all these things. Each of them kind of have their own flavor, but they all kind of contribute to this greater mission and whole. And he kind of Connor wrapped his brain around that concept for Tuttle Twins, and how the TV show would look a little bit different than what he'd been doing with the book series, but it would be teaching the same lessons. And that's what we wanted to pursue. And then, and yeah, he kind of signed off on it. We partnered with Angel Studios as our distributor. I'm a co-founder of Angel Studios
Mhm.
as well, by the way. And although I don't work there day to day, I'm just working on Tuttle Twins.
Mhm.
And we went and raised money from the crowd to get the first season going. So we were able to raise $3.7 million, which was a record for crowdfunding for a kid show at the time. Um, and yeah, we went into full production. We now have a full season in release on the Angel app. Angel's more known for the hit show The Chosen, which tells about the life of Christ from more of the perspective of his followers. And we're available. All 12 episodes of the first season are available for free on there. And now we are starting to release episodes for season 2. We're 3 episodes in, and our third episode was the Bitcoin episode. So that's kind of a rough synopsis of where we're at.
Got it. No, I love the messaging in the episodes. Like there's a lot on like freedom and rights. There's a lot on financial education,
Yep.
entrepreneurship. Is there an overarching theme? It seems like there's an overarching theme that's kind of consistent across the episodes that you want maybe to help kids understand, because a lot of this stuff is great because they don't get it in traditional cartoons, something on Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network. They get some things, but not to this level. I think this is far more helpful.
Yes, the theme is very much principles of freedom and economics. That at the highest level, that's what it is. And the reason I really got bought in and passionate about making the show was because of that theme. So I grew up in a freedom-loving family in Idaho, and my closest neighbors were like a quarter mile away. And you really get to know what freedom is when you live out on a farm, right? As opposed to when you live in more suburban or urban areas. And my family taught about it. I went to a little private school that my uncle ran that was more what we would traditionally know now as like a homeschool co-op. It was about that size of a little school, and his curriculum was very much based on history and teaching the patterns of history that civilizations kind of repeat, and being able to learn from that, and specifically sort of what are those principles of freedom and economics that are more tried and true as opposed to the ones we try over and over again, and then societies kind of crumble from that. And so I had that sort of American founding and those original documents and stuff deep kind of in my heart from that school experience. And I also wanted that for my kids, and I wasn't seeing it out there in the school system. I wasn't seeing it out there in culture. And I basically kind of came to the conclusion, well, if I'm not going to do this, if I don't make this show, who will? And the answer, in my mind, at least, especially in the way I felt like the show could be really fun and entertaining and something kids choose to watch over their options on YouTube and Disney Plus and Netflix and the
Mhm.
like, um, and also educate them really well. I was like, if we don't do this, who's going to do it? And I
Right.
just came to the conclusion, no one. And so that's when I was like, okay, we've got to make this happen. And that's what we did. But yeah, it's all about the principles of freedom. And we hear parents telling us over and over again, where was this when I was a kid? Where was this when I was teaching my younger ones? Like, I've been craving something like this my whole life, and it's really putting into understandable terms the things that they believe, but now they can explain them with critical thinking to their kids, and with their kids around the dinner table. It's really creating those dinner table discussions.
Absolutely. What was the thought process behind putting an episode together around Bitcoin in particular? Did you have some kind of experience with it, or someone that you work with have an experience with it that thought maybe it'd be a good idea to teach kids about it as well?
Yeah, so I have an older brother that introduced me to Bitcoin probably somewhere in 2013. The first time I kind of got sold on it and bought Bitcoin, it was at $110 per Bitcoin, right? And as of the time of this recording, we're sitting around
Yeah.
$26,000 for Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin went up very sharply over the next month to $135 per coin. And I sold all my Bitcoin, which was like maybe a Bitcoin or two at the time. Sold it and was like, I beat the system. I made a killing. Here I got a quick 25% return in like a month. And then it continued to skyrocket up above
Right.
$2,000. It also obviously came down from that, but I was never able to buy Bitcoin at that price again. I have bought Bitcoin since, but never that low. So I was, I guess, what you would consider an early adopter to some degree compared to what the rest of the world was. And when I really understood how Bitcoin solved the problem of hard money versus easy money, being able to create money out of thin air with fiat currency and doing what governments have done, for, eons, and just, printing the paper and that kind of stuff, and how Bitcoin really solved for that kind of thing as a hard money where you could really store value, especially long term over time. That's where we got really interested in making this into an episode. Another executive producer on the project is my brother, and he'd been pushing for some time, like, we've got to make a Bitcoin episode. And I didn't feel like that was the right approach for season 1, but in season 2, I was like, I think we should do that. And I talked to our lead writer, Johnny, about it. And Johnny's actually the voice of Ethan, one of the characters on the show. And we both got kind of excited about doing that, especially in terms of using Safedean's book, the Bitcoin Standard, as the basis for that particular episode. And we were able to distill it down to the concept of, when money is easy to make, society begins to break, right? That
Right.
The difference of hard money versus soft money. So we even touch on gold in that episode, and it's not necessarily a Bitcoin hard sell or anything like that, but it really does help people understand the fundamentals of why the blockchain network really supports that critical sort of basis for hard money. And so we wanted kids to be able to understand it. And luckily, it seems to be working, that a lot of kids are really understanding it, and adults understand it for the first time. And that's really encouraging.
Very cool. No, it's great that you guys are doing this at such a crucial time too. Financial education for kids is a big deal right now, given the fact that the U.S. is going through inflation and a debt ceiling that's about to close on the 1st of June, and Fed raising rates, and there's so many different problems that are hurting our economy. Kids these days are going to grow up. They are growing up right now through these times, and it'll probably get a little bit worse before it gets any bit better. So it's good for them to have this education to understand at a young age what's really going on. Why are mom and dad having a hard time? Why are people mean on the news? Why are people fighting? It's good to teach them these things.
Yeah, you're bringing up a really good point, in that there are kids that are young enough that in their lifetime of understanding money, they've only ever heard about it probably in terms of inflation, right? Like, that they may, in understanding the concept of money, has been like right there married with inflation all the way along. And that's a little bit scary, that thought. And so it is the timing seems very appropriate. In our first season, our most popular episode seems to be the inflation monster episode, where we talk about the creation of the Federal Reserve, and we talk about how inflation isn't something that just comes out of thin air, or is being created by corporate greed, or by by some other random thing. It's being created because the money supply is being added to and inflated, right? That the Federal Reserve is creating a whole bunch of money, putting it all into the market, and then ultimately the price of goods and services rises. And we explained that very succinctly, and it's been especially our most popular episode on social media, where it's had millions of views and being circulated on places like Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the like. And people are really starving for understanding here because they hear all the more complicated messages in the media and in culture about things that are maybe more along the Keynesian economic side. They don't ever have it really distilled down to them from a more kind of sound economics viewpoint of what's really happening with their money. And so they find that very refreshing and very empowering to know not only is it happening, but there are things that they can do about it to better store the value that they've created in the way that they, use their money.
Absolutely. Are those things you also touch on, like Keynesian economics, maybe Adam Smith or capitalism or any of these concepts? Are those also some things that maybe get interjected into the episodes?
Yes, certainly. We have an episode on free trade in season 1 where we visit Adam Smith. So the whole concept of the show is the Tuttle twins, Ethan and Emily Tuttle, have a grandma who moves in with them, moves in the house there with their parents, with their family, has been basically evicted from her little HOA because she's got this feral raccoon that she has as a pet. And the grandma turns out that she's got a time traveling wheelchair. And so she takes her kids back on adventures in time to learn from historical figures like Frederick Bastiat, Adam Smith, Annie Turnbull Malone, the first African-American woman to become a millionaire in the United States from an entrepreneurship venture, Benjamin Franklin. They visit people like Milton Friedman and Frederick Hayek and all these different really cool historical figures. Even they visit Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks, learn about things like civil disobedience. And it does it in a way where the kids kind of find a problem in their real life, are trying to solve through how they overcome it. And then grandma will take them on an adventure back in time to meet a historical figure and learn from their story. They kind of gain a principle. And then they go maybe to another dimension to learn how to apply that with, in another world, and then come back home and learn how to apply it in their day to day. And that's a little bit of the format of the show in the way that we're teaching. And again, it's the kids are connecting so well with the characters and having so much fun with the series. I think a lot of them aren't even thinking about the fact that they're learning really great principles of freedom as they're going along. And I think that is some of the best storytelling does that. If you think of the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, if I say with great power comes
great responsibility.
Yeah, anybody can complete that line for me, right? Because the story around it is so impactful, right? And it's just that one tidbit line, that one truth in there that we can all kind of relate with and learn from. But it has so much great story and character around it that's what makes it stick. If we had just been told that as we're walking down the street and don't have all the Spider-Man story to connect back to it, then it doesn't have the same impact. But that's what we're trying to do. So we teach things like, when money's easy to make, society begins to break, or inflation hurts a nation, or disagree doesn't mean enemy. We have a whole episode that talks about disagreeing with someone doesn't put them on, now they're on team good or team bad and you're on team good. And we'll have other episodes that we touch on tribalism, on socialism, on central planning, all these concepts we're going to go through and hopefully give kids a much stronger foundation to understand things through, and much more critical thinking around what is the role of government in our society. What things should it actually be doing?
Did you model it after maybe some other shows that have been on cartoons for kids? Like, for example, like it looks like a Phineas and Ferb kind of vibe to me. It's also got like a fast-paced wittiness of like a Rick and Morty. And there's some things that feel a little bit similar in there. Did you take some inspiration from some things that worked in the past?
Yeah, 100% so. Phineas and Ferb has always been an inspiration from it from the beginning. Other educational things like the Magic School Bus
Mm-hmm.
and like Schoolhouse Rock have come into play. But then on like the sort of the wittiness and the storytelling vibes, there's a little bit of like the Simpsons flair in there. There's a little bit of a Disney show called Gravity Falls, as well as our writers have also been inspired by things like Rick and Morty, and obviously a lot of the Pixar works and stuff over time. But yeah, we're drawing from inspiration kind of all over the place. It's a little bit like I've realized now, as I've removed myself from it and kind of taken a look back at what we've done, it's been a little bit like what George Lucas did with Star Wars, where he was kind of borrowing from the samurai films and the Westerns and Flash Gordon and all these different areas of pop culture and kind of mixing it into this one hero's journey kind of story of Star Wars. And that's a little bit of what has happened with Tuttle Twins as well.
That makes sense. Where are you, what's your plans on like distribution? How do you reach kids with this show? Like, can they get it on their phone or their iPad, which I think a lot of little kids have these days? Or is it to target the parents, for the parents to give to the kids, or what's the plan to like kind of reach out so that they know that that's an option?
Yeah, our distributor is Angel Studios, and each episode that we go live with, we do it live on the app, and we do it on YouTube, and even like Facebook for that matter. But those are the primary two audiences when we watch the episodes live. So the first Tuesday of every month, we're releasing a new episode. We call it Tuttle Tuesday. And we have, from the beginning, we've intended this as a co-viewing experience with parents and their kids. And we're finding that that is the case, that 80% of the episodes are being watched with both parents and kids, which is great because we want the discussions to happen. We don't want just them to, throw kids blindly in front of this. It's great that we have that trust and everything, but we want them to be able to really kind of pick things apart and be able to apply it in their own lives. And where Angel Studios is our distributor, the app is free to download on the App Store or Google Play. And all the episodes are free to watch. We have a pay it forward model where you can watch it for free. And if you love what you're watching, you can pay it forward for other people to watch it for free, meaning it's kind of like a pay what you want kind of a thing.
Right.
Or you don't have to at all. You can just watch it for free. But our mission is to reach 100 million kids with the ideas of freedom. So it's a big lofty goal that we've got we've got a lot of years that we're going to need to be able to accomplish that. But that is the plan. Is the show has that kind of longevity in its concept that we can go season after season after season and really keep it fresh, because there's always something relevant to talk about in the way of these different principles.
Yeah, on that goal to 100 million, where are you at so far? How many kids do you think you've reached?
Oh, I'd love to know the number of the kids. I mean, to date, the view count, the view count right now across platforms is somewhere around, I think, 17 million.
That's good.
But I don't know if I were to guess, I'd probably guess it's probably more around like 5 million people reached or something with that. So we're kind of, incrementally going along, but that's why we're on this podcast, is to get the word out a little bit more. So
absolutely. No, that's good. That's good progress. That's like the size of a large YouTube channel anyway. So you're making really good progress there with kids. Do you want to just reach them in the States, or do you want to also reach them maybe in Canada or in Europe? Like, do you want to go international?
Yeah. International for sure. Okay. It all starts with the United States, but the goal is international. It's being translated right now into Portuguese and into Spanish, meaning with dubbing, and then we'll have subtitles for other things. And depending on the demand from other countries, we might do dubbing in more languages as well. But right now, we've seen primary demand from places in south of the border in Central America and South America, where a lot of people have really wanted the show to be able to show to their kids and have it in their language audibly, not just have to read it.
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really cool in other languages as well.
There's what we do find is some of our biggest fans are people that are living in countries where they are feeling the oppression from government much more close to home. There's a little bit like there's a fair amount of oppression happening in the United States, but we don't necessarily have a culture or a society that's all that aware of it,
Hmm.
right? Because of the foundation that we're coming from, and a lot of people not realizing kind of what's happening as it's happening, because it's a little bit more of that slow boiling pot kind of thing. But a lot of other countries that people are kind of coming from, they're seeing it big time with like the riots in the streets and civil war, just like how restrictive the government is on their ability to create new businesses and do innovative things and all this kind of stuff. So they're really craving this message of freedom.
Right, right. What's the end game goal? Do you want to get picked up by like Disney Plus or HBO Plus or something like that and get exposed to their audience, or do you want to do it completely independent the way you're doing it now?
I think we're open to all sorts of distribution. I can't imagine a world in which Disney Plus would touch us with a 10-foot pole, but we certainly wouldn't mind getting distribution
Hmm.
on there. Um, I do think there is possibility and very much openness to a lot of the distribution channels that have opened up for the Chosen. Like I said, Angel is the distributor of the Chosen, but then they've got a lot more avenues that a lot of sub-licensing agreements with other distribution places. And so, yeah,
Hmm.
we'd love to end up on places like Netflix and Amazon and all that kind of stuff, especially places that are trying to serve maybe more niche audiences, or that are looking that aren't trying to well, we have this one kind of content as opposed to other things. A lot of the distribution companies are trying to serve more broadly different types of audiences, and obviously ours falls into that category, especially if they feel like it has to be representative of their brand in some
Hmm.
way. And we've never presumed to do anything more than just make the show that we want to make, that we feel like we would want to watch, and that we feel like parents would want to watch, and kids and stuff. And so that's kind of where we're headed for this. But yeah, we would love to see it get picked up in a lot more places.
When you reach 100 million kids, is this show the end all be all and you want to focus in on that? Or do you want to do maybe another show at some point, maybe focus on something different or teaching a different lesson or a different moral?
Um, I am so focused on Tuttle Twins right now
Hmm.
that I try not to let my mind go there a whole lot, because there's still so much more work to be done on making this show everything it can be. It's been very well received, which is really rewarding. The audience reaction's been very high. I think we're at like 8.7 stars on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database. I
Hmm.
think our audience score right now is hovering around 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. We've had really good, like 95% like response on episodes on when they're released on YouTube, and then we've won 8 Telly Awards with the show, and so that's very much the focus right now, is deliver on really quality content for this. And there's so many stories that we can tell with this that we're that's my focus more than it is what's the next thing. It's more about what's to me. It's more about, okay, what other stories could we tell in the future when when season two's all complete. That's more of where my mind is going when it comes to Tuttle Twins itself. There's also a lot of merchandising opportunity
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
is
that's true.
there to make the show sustainable, that I think is very intriguing. And our distributor Angel Studios is working on a lot of those things. So there's some really fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, it's very exciting for you guys right now, where your guys is at. And yeah, absolutely focus in on this and make it successful because it seems like it's doing really well. Where can people go to watch it? I know they can go to the website. Is that the primary place to go to sign up to get access to both seasons of episodes?
Yep, downloading the Angel app is the primary
Okay.
place. I mean, you can find us at TuttleTwins.tv as well, Tuttle Twins.tv. We'll redirect you to where you need to go as well if you want to look it up with a URL. But yeah, the Angel app, just search Angel app on the App Store or on Google Play. You'll find that there. You can download it for free. You can watch Tuttle Twins for free, and there's a lot of other great content you can watch for free on there as well. And then if you feel so inspired, if you're liking what you're seeing, we'd love it if you paid it forward. If you bought a T-shirt or some graphic novels from us or something along those lines, all that helps support additional episode creation for the show.
Awesome. I'm gonna buy some apparel. Can I get like a plushy thing for my girlfriend, or can I, or what kind of apparel do you guys have, or
So we
items?
do have plushies. We're sold out right now. I think of our Derek, our raccoon character is
Hmm.
like the most popular character with the kids. I think that plushie's sold out right now. But Ethan and Emily Tuttle, the two twins, there's plushies for them, and there's some T-shirts that people like that say things like "places to go, people to see, communists to offend." Um, there's some different merch like that, and then the graphic novels are really fun for parents that are looking for resources where their kids don't have to spend as much time in front of screens,
Hmm.
so they can revisit the episodes pretty much word for word and kind of shot for shot in a graphic novel form and like a comic book style form, and then they just don't have to be getting it all through a screen, so they can have the lessons on repeat and connect more. We're actually hearing stories of their kids learning to because kids will memorize lines
Right.
from shows and stuff, and when they read it at the same time, it actually helps them uh, it helps them learn new words and
Hmm.
things, so that's really fun as well.
Yeah, just on that really quick, like where could they get the literature if they want to buy? Is that also like through the app or through the website, or how do you get it?
Yeah, you can go to TuttleTwins.store.
Okay.
That's the website for it, Tuttle twins.store. And then there's also links directly within the app to go buy merch.
Perfect. Daniel, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast. Really appreciate it. It's awesome what you guys are doing with Tuttle Twins. I'm a fan. My little family here is a fan. So we're excited to see you guys continue growing, and anything we can do to help you, just let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Really appreciate it.
All right. Take care. We'll talk soon.